Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Rusty Hertz in Wisconsin. We got Tim in Green Bay. Hopefully, everybody's having an awesome evening here on this glorious February the 10th. We're coming down to the wire now, fellas. We're about to get into some off-season contract adjusting. We're going to get some franchise tags slapped out there, and then we're going to be cranking up right into the combine. And then, of course, we've got free agency right thereafter. So it's an exciting time, man, as the offseason is officially underway. Been underway for us for a couple weeks now, but I think everybody's really coming to the realization now, like, oh, man, there's a lot to talk about. So how we doing, gents?
Doing good, man. Fresh off a Chiefs loss in the Super Bowl. How you guys feeling?
I liked it.
I'm sorry, a Chiefs boat race loss in the Super Bowl. My bad.
It's amazing how bad that team got their ass kicked when they wasn't getting every call under the sun, huh? Funny how that works.
Kind of interesting.
I mean, I don't know if you remember the beginning of the. I told myself I wasn't going to watch it, and then I completely buckled and I watched. I don't think I've ever watched the Super Bowl more intently, and I watched every single snap. I didn't move from my chair. I was disabled, like with a food coma. I couldn't move. It was like a snake that ate like it's like a deer or something like that, and I couldn't move. So I was forced to sit there and watch just what happened to me. And
cheese curds and my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them though.
Telling you, hey, there was nothing better than watching Taylor get booed. Tell you what, baby.
Hey, I just seen that tweet come across the wire. They said that he is extremely upset that she got booed. That he's very discouraged by it. Travis.
Who?
Damn, Tim's on fire tonight already, boys.
Yeah.
We're 2.5 minutes in, and he's already on fire.
I saw some meme that said something real funny. Sorry. He said, imagine being beat so bad that you leave the Super Bowl wearing Taylor's pajamas. Because I don't know what the heck he was wearing.
But it was bad. Yeah.
I mean, he looked pretty good pregame. He had the whole Ron Burgundy outfit going on. I mean, that was,
My favorite part, man, there was a couple meme pictures that came through across Facebook earlier today. And it was a picture of Taylor Swift running with the Lombardi crying. She had her mascara running, and the Eagles team was chasing her, trying to get the Lombardi. Like she stole it. And then it showed in the locker room Travis Kelce making out with Ice Spice, and you see Taylor catch him doing it. It's just like, who comes up with this? Somebody had to top that in, right? They had to come up with that idea to top it into the AI generator. So anyway, Josh Martin in the chat says, we're 8th in odds to win the Super Bowl next year. I put money on us. There you go. Josh putting his money where his mouth is there. I like it. 8th in odds to win the Super Bowl next year. How do we feel about that, guys? I know this is kind of off, I don't know, right off the top, off topic, I guess you could say. We didn't even talk about this. And just spur of the moment, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's pretty close to where they need to be? I mean, you're basically saying they're a top 10 team, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's fair. And Josh has got the right idea. I mean, I'm not a sports bettor, but the earlier you get it in, the better, right? Put that money down. I think there's just as good a chance as any that we can make it to the show. And I would think we're teetering right there, right around top 10 teams in the league, I think, based on the past couple of years. But again, we all know this is a year-to-year kind of league here, right? Not for long, like we always say. So I think that's fair right now. And get your money, Josh. Put that money out. Let's go.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think 8th is probably right about right if I'm being pretty self-honest with the evaluation of where the team's at. Like Tim said, I think it depends on a number of things. Was the Jordan Love, quote unquote, step back year because of an injury? Was there going to be a guy that resurges and shows to be the true number one wide receiver? What kind of offseason acquisitions do we make? All those kinds of things. That dust is going to settle in the next couple of months. And maybe we could take a look at it going into the beginning of the season if we actually think that 8th. But right now, I mean, honestly, 8th sounds fair. It sounds fair.
Yeah, I do too. I think so too. Let's hear Josh Martin says, remember, everyone winning a Super Bowl is hard. With Hurts winning, there's now 5 starting quarterbacks out of 32 that have won a Super Bowl, and Wilson and Rodgers won theirs over a decade ago. It takes time. It's a great point. Great point. So Like that we're already putting things into perspective here as we get ready to crank up the off season. 2 over this says, is Jacob wearing an MBTGA hat? Make butt tattoos great again? Is that right?
Oh, we're going to give him some.
I've stayed away from it, Jacob. I haven't asked for an update. I haven't asked what the plan was.
First of all, butt tattoos never went out of style. All right.
That's true.
They're cool. And if you don't have a butt tattoo, you're a loser.
Yeah,
with
and you
a
can always
million's
claim
face on
you got a. You can always claim you got an ass tat, and if somebody asks to see it, then
We'll take your word for it for sure.
That reminds me of one of my favorite scenes in The Waterboy when Henry Winkler's character, Coach, he says, "Mom told me not to get a picture of Roy Orbison tattooed on my ass," and then he turns around, but Mama don't know won't hurt her.
The aggressivity he showed pulling his pants back up as he walked off.
That's right.
Oh man, go Caldwell Corner in the house. He's like, I don't know why I'm in here. I wish they wouldn't have highlighted my chat now. Good to see you in here, buddy. He says everyone's 0-0 now. Packers turn to get that trophy, man. I think they got as good a shot as anyone. It's just you got to add some veteran leadership on that team. You got to go out and add. I think 2 or 3 pieces, veteran wise, would be ideal. If you go get one, I think you got less of a chance of winning the whole thing. But if you can go out there and shore up some of the holes with some veteran presence, I think it would really could set the team over the top. Think of the free agent acquisitions that Ted made back in the day to get them over the hump, right? Those type of signings. Woodson was a few years before, obviously, before they actually got to the Super Bowl, right? Another one, though, I think the year of was Howard Green, big nose tackle, just a piece that wasn't flashy. It was just the perfect. Aaron Rodgers talks about him just as much as anyone. We always remember B.J. Raji and the pick 6 against Chicago and all the stuff that Raji did, and he was great. But Howard Green being able to play that nose and free Raji up a little bit from time to time too helped a ton. I remember, I want to say, was it Brandon Chiller was a guy on that roster as well? Was that? I don't know why, but that's the name that I think of. Ryan Pickett. That was a free agent.
Ryan Pickett, yep.
That was one of those that's like, hey, just a solid football player. They didn't overpay for him and got their money's worth out of him for sure. So, yeah, with you there, Caldwell Corner. Chuck in the chat says, Bears already win in the offseason like usual. Hey, man, nobody can keep up with the Bears in the offseason.
Get ready to go.
Every year they win the offseason. And I haven't even focused on – I haven't seen anything come across the old algae here in a long time with the Bears. So they must be ready to roll now. Chuck says, B. Chill was on the team. That's what I was thinking. I want to say inside linebacker, Brandon Chiller played a big role.
Apparently he went to Chuck's high school. That's kind of cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Another one. Remember Frank Zombo?
The Zombo.
There's a guy.
Played a role opposite Clay Matthews, didn't he? So interesting. Holmes in the chat. Do we have the 3 tech from Texas A&M on our board? If so, where? All right, I'm going to need a little more detail than that.
Was that, remember I was talking about either Peebles or there was another guy. I think that was the one I was referring to. I might have him on my guy's spreadsheet.
Oh, I think Jacob's getting
You think I got going on right now?
What's
Tim,
the,
do you know who he's there by chance?
You were breaking up a little bit. What was the school again? Texas A&M?
Texas Tech's what he said, right? Oh, no, Texas A&M, okay.
Yeah, A&M.
Texas Tech and A&M, or Texas A&M, yeah.
Let me go to
I don't see.
let me go to the PFF draft board, and I've already got something else ready to go on the screen, so we'll come back to it. But so we're looking for Texas A&M, right? A&M.
You talking Alfred Collins?
Thinking he's talking Shamar Turner, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking either Shamar Turner or
I think Alfred Collins.
Alfred Collins is from Texas Tech or Texas A&M?
No. I'm stupid.
That's all right. We all are. That's why nobody watches this show. So
Got to be Shamar Turner. Yeah.
I'm guessing he's talking about Shamar Turner there. 6'4", 300 pounds. Let's see where we got him on our board here. Shamar Turner. You got anything on him, Tim, you want to hit on, man?
Graded out at a 59 in 2024. Played 377 snaps in the B gap, 92 in the A gap, over the tackle 48 times. I'm trying to find a little more info on him. I know there's multiple though.
He said Shamar Stewart is what Holmes is saying. So
okay. There's like 2 or 3 out of A&M on the D line.
Okay, now Shamar Stewart's not a 3 tech; he's an edge.
Yeah.
If you're talking about Shamar Stewart, the edge defender out of Texas A&M at the Senior Bowl, I've got him in the 23 spot. Shamar Turner was much
tackle, yeah.
Yeah, he was like down in the 200s. So Shamar Stewart. There you go. All right. So yeah, we've got him. He's an edge defender. And Tim, did Shamar Stewart play anything on the edge or anything in the 3-tech by chance? B gap that they're showing
Let's
there.
see. Turner, 377 snaps. B gap.
Okay, so he played a lot of B, but everybody's projecting him as an edge. So that's something to keep an eye on. He could play.
Wait, are we talking about Turner or Stewart?
Stewart.
I got Turner. Oh, okay. I got Turner pulled up. Turner is the 3-tech.
Okay.
Yeah, Stewart only played. He did play A gap 8 times, B gap 22, over tackle 117, and outside tackle 371.
Okay, so Shamar Stewart, the guy we're talking about, is definitely an edge defender. He's not a big gap guy. Okay, got it. Good stuff. Appreciate the question there, gents, and thanks for suffering through it there. Let's go to Twitter real quick and just hit a couple things, man. I was on Facebook earlier. Somebody had sent this to me from another group, and it originated from Jerry Kramer's Facebook page. I don't know if it's a fan club Facebook page. There was a lot of followers on it. I don't know if he's got somebody running it for him or if it's just a fan that ran it, but thought this was really cool. It's my first time seeing this. Have you ever seen this picture, Tim?
No, man, I have not.
So for those of you on the pod, I'll try to describe it to you. You know, there was a brief time that Curly Lambeau came back to Green Bay and started spending time around the facility when they opened the new stadium. Obviously, they named it after him after he passed away, but when they first opened it up, he had retired from football and came back around a little bit. And, he and Lombardi did not get along good. It sounded like they were two different people, right? Like we've talked about before. Lombardi was a family man of faith. Curly Lambeau was out there in the streets, right? He might see him over at the office from time to time, that type of cat, right? So Lombardi obviously frowned upon it, but it's so cool to see these two in the picture. And like I said, for everybody on the pod, it's Lombardi and Curly Lambeau, and they're both laughing, which is really rare, right? They're both cutting up. It looks like
I was just gonna say one of like 8 pictures with Curly smiling there. That's pretty cool.
And they're both, just decked out in the mobster type gear, right? The fedora, whatever you want to call it.
That's right.
Coat.
It's a baby, Shane.
Yeah, it's a baby. So you can't smoke in here. Oh, sorry. And then in the background, you've got Ray Nitschke grinning like a possum in a dumpster. And of course, Jerry Kramer back there. It's just cool, man. So obviously, what this is a picture of is probably a practice because everybody else is kind of in practice gear. And it looked like Curly visited one of Lombardi's practices. So really cool shot. I'm going to try to print it off, hang it on the wall here in the office because I've never seen this.
It'd be cool if we could get a date on it. Like what date is that? Is that 60, 59? Like what?
Yeah. The stadium being built. I know there was grainy footage of him walking into New City Stadium, which was later named Lambeau Field after him. That would have been 59. So this is probably, Tim, somewhere between 59 and what day did he die? And by the way, if you guys have never read the book, Lambeau, the man behind the mystique, oh my God, it's so good. It tells just a description of his entire life. It is absolutely awesome. Let me see when he passed away. Go ahead, Jacob, if you got something.
June 1st, 1965, Curly passed away.
Yeah, so this is, this is probably closer to 65 than I would imagine because it took a little while before he came back around and kind of stuck around. Somebody had an audio clip. I think it was on that Legacy documentary. They played it. To the best of my knowledge, it's the only recording of his voice. And it was him talking about the Packers before a game or something up in like a broadcast booth or something. It was really cool. So
Check this out. Bates is on it. He says from left to right, basically, they've got Jerry Kramer, Ray Nitschke, Norb Hecker, Lou Carpenter, Vince Lombardi, Curly Lambeau, and Henry Jordan.
There you go. Big Henry Jordan over
on top of it. I like it.
Henry Jordan, is that the guy just over Curly's right shoulder?
Yes, that's right. Very
kind of got that. He looks like Bobby Boucher's daddy, Roberto.
Before he ran off with a voodoo woman named Phyllis. See, Henry Jordan. That cat, man, again, I know he was very, very underrated. 13 seasons in the NFL he played. And I want to say, didn't he play nose tackle? Am I thinking right, guys? Or was he a center? I think he was a defensive tackle. Yeah, so he plays nose guard is what they called it back in the day. So, yeah, Henry Jordan was lined up on the inside while obviously Willie Davis was out there on the outside playing defensive end. But I was trying to see if he is a Hall of Famer or not. I don't think he is. NFL draft. Yeah, actually, yeah. He is a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, so one of many of Lombardi's players that were Hall of Famers. So pretty cool, though. I thought that picture was awesome. And, again, what's really neat about it, this will never happen again, gang. You'll never see a picture of two coaches. Mark my words. I would bet the farm on this. You'll never see a picture of two coaches together who each won 3 championships in a row. And that's what you've got in this picture right here.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, the Packers are the only team to ever do it, let alone did it twice, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. And again, we said championships, not Super Bowls, or somebody going, but. I know, calm down. Everything's fine. So let's move on to something else I want to hit on with you guys real quick. I want to ask you, I want your honest opinion on this, and I'd asked everybody on Twitter. I thought this was kind of an interesting topic. Actually, let me hit these chats before we do that real quick. Josh Martin, 126 million people watched the Super Bowl, a new record. So much for the boycott. I thought they said it was 3% down. Maybe.
So here's what I read, Mo, which I highlighted as well, made a kind of counter. I think that does have something to do with it. The way that literally, I had it on my phone. I had parts of it I was looking at my computer, and I had my TV on. So does that count me as 3 viewers? You know what I mean? Or that's right.
Seems like I could care less.
He's running them books, baby.
That's right. So listen, you know it's going to get watched. It's not like everybody's going to stop watching it regardless. But yeah, it's just I think it's awesome that the fan base, 31 other fan bases put that much pressure on the league to actually call the game the right way. And then lo and behold, Chiefs don't get all the breaks and boom, they get their ass kicked. But
did y'all cover the Super Bowl? Sorry. Did you cover the Super Bowl this morning a little bit? Did you recap it?
A little bit, not a whole lot. What do you got, man? Hit it.
No, I don't remember if it was you or somebody that I saw a repost of a JJ Watt thing where he's like, or maybe I think he said it in our group chat where he was like, oh, I guess we put to bed the whole conspiracy theory of the Chiefs getting all the calls. And to anybody, you guys can correct me if you think that I'm wrong. I watched a game where I saw, wow, one of these teams really just didn't deserve to be here at all. And
bingo.
I know exactly which team I was thinking of that got dragged across the finish line in multiple games.
Yep.
And again, we've talked about it till we're blue in the mouth. The fact that the trenches won that game. Right. Kansas City had nothing to do. Jalen Carter and that defensive line were throwing them around like little baby boys. Same thing on the offensive line.
We were cheated out of a Bills appearance in the Super Bowl this year. I think that would have been a little bit more entertaining of a game, probably.
Yeah, I agree, man. All right, let's move it along here. And again, Taylor Swift getting booed. I couldn't help but giggle a little bit. Like, welcome to the real world there, sweetheart. So here's the question that I posed on Twitter. I want to ask you guys, honestly, I want to get your opinion here. I said, Packer fans, which edge defender would you rather have on your roster and why? Okay. Player 1, he had an 11.2% quarterback pressure rate, 12% run stop rate, and is only $4.7 million against the cap. Player 2, 10.8% quarterback pressure rate, 17% run stop rate, and $18 million against the cap. Which would be your choice in this scenario, guys? And again,
player 1, baby.
You go player 1?
Yeah.
Yep. Ross the boss, right, baby? Got to get that deal.
Right. Gotta get that in there.
And that was that's kind of the conclusion I came up with when comparing these two players. Was like, man, the second player significantly better at stopping the run, but not as much pressure on the quarterback, right? And man, he's $13 million more, $13.23 million more. That's just crazy. So I think I would go player 1 as well. Tim, who would you go with here, man?
Yeah, I would be there too. I think, there's that, we can get workarounds and, make anything happen nowadays, it seems, in the league as far as moving cap around. But I think you're splitting hairs here when you look at the numbers, and the one that you're not splitting hairs is the $18 million versus a $4.7 million cap hit. So for that and that alone, I would go player 1 all day.
Right. And essentially what you're doing, if you take player 2 here, you're going to sit player 1 on the bench is what's going to happen. Now, to reveal who this was, player 1 is Lucas Van Ness. Player 2 is Josh Sweat. Everybody's going, we need Josh Sweat. He's winning the Super Bowl. There you go.
That is
there's a big list of free agents coming out of Philly, and it looks like the majority of them that we would probably be interested in snatching up in free agency are probably going to be re-signed by the Eagles. I don't think they're going to let Zach Bond go anywhere. I don't necessarily think they're going to let Sweat go either. And unless we want like Oren Burks back or something, I just, here you go. You got Shefty's tweet here. This is what I was talking about. So I think Bond and Sweat are probably staying, maybe, I don't know. How do you guys feel about Mekhi or Mekhi Becton? Is that his name? Mekhi?
I've heard it pronounced both ways. So whichever you're comfortable with, I'm good with.
Yeah,
I think it's Mekhi, but Ryan used to always say Mekhi Becton, and now I can't get that out of my head. So that'll be forever how I remember him. But I don't know, Tim. Look at that. That's crazy too. I can't help but notice the Oren Burks.
Yeah,
on
that's
that,
what I was
on
saying.
that list
Like,
there.
He probably played relatively well this year. On that defense, but he started a handful of games too, I believe. But I don't know. I think I see Bond and I see Sweat, and I'm like, oh gosh, yeah, let's make a move for one of these guys. But it's like, I don't think. Do you guys think the Eagles are gonna really maybe test the market, but probably make an offer, right? Probably try to keep them around.
I don't think they'll be able to keep them all, but I think a large chunk of these guys are coming back, Tim.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously the guys on this list here for everybody on the pod: linebacker Zach Bond, defensive end Josh Sweat, defensive tackle Milton Williams, defensive end Brandon Graham, offensive tackle Mekhi Becton, guard Fred Johnson, cornerback Avante Maddox, long snapper Rick Lovato, running back Kenneth Gainwell, linebacker Oren Burks, tight end CJ Uzama, offensive tackle Jack Driscoll, center Nick Gates, and offensive tackle LaRaven Clark. So, and Fred McFarley just said Graham is retiring, so that must be some breaking news. That's awesome. He gets to go out on top again. So, yeah. All right, good stuff. So,
I believe that I'd be more interested in maybe some of those later, like Jack Driscoll, if I'm not mistaken. I thought he was a fairly younger guy who was semi-talented out of the draft, and if they're willing to let him go, there seemed to be like a really deep team. I know I saw an article saying that how people were saying that Milton Williams might be a good pickup for the Packers, a more under the radar type guy. But I don't know if we ever dove into him PFF wise or whatever. But I don't know, man. Fangio, and they just seem like that they've. And if you guys remember, we went into this season, and even midway through the season, there was tons of talk about how this locker room was broken, and how the front office and the players were not on the same page, and how they were not even like their offensive stars like AJ and Jalen were on the fritz a little bit. And I don't know, man, if it was literally just Saquon going in there and being like, no, we're not doing any of this. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. Winning fixes pretty much all drama. We've learned that, but I'd be interested to see if a lot of these players are really dedicated to want to stay in Philly.
Yeah. And again, I wanted to show that player there. And obviously we all said we would take LVN before knowing it was LVN, right? That's kind of what we came up with there. LVN compared to Josh Sweat, which Josh Sweat is kind of the new it thing right now on Packers Twitter anyway. So let's move on to another position. Let's go defensive tackle this time, all right? And again, the reason I compare those two players is because if you bring in Josh Sweat, you're putting LVN on the bench. And you're going to eat up $14 million extra in cap. It might not be the first year, but at some point, the average annual value, that's what it's projected at right now. It could be even more. What we found last year, right, Tim, Jacob, when we were doing the free agent talk, whatever the projections were, it seemed like the large majority of the players end up getting more than that. So he could get more than $18 million. So, all right, here's another comparison for you. Packer fans, which defensive tackle would you prefer to have and why? Player 1, quarterback pressure, 12.5%, run stop rate of 9%, cap hit $12 million. Or player 2, quarterback pressure 9.7%, run stop rate 19%, cap hit only $4 million. How do you feel about that at D tackle?
I gotta go player 2.
You cheapskate, you. What do you think, Tim? Because that's
player 1.
You go player 1 because that pass rush, right?
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense. It does. For me personally, the fact that it's only a 9% run stop rate, that worries me, because what made us so good this year was our ability to stop the run, right? And now you're going to take a step back, and we remember the olden days when we couldn't stop the run to for anything, right? So you look at that, take that in consideration. Significantly better player 2 is at stopping the run. Significantly better player 1 is at rushing the passer, and you've got an $8 million difference. I'm going to go with the cheaper one in this. Right. And these players right here, player 1 is Milton Williams from Philly.
That
Player
is Melton. Okay.
Player 2 is Devontae Wyatt.
Wow. That surprised me with his run stop rate like that.
Yep. Me too. Because you know why it surprises us, Jacob? Because we always look at PFF and go, man, he's horrible at playing the run.
Yeah.
And then you look at the run stop rate and you're going, maybe PFF doesn't have it all figured out, right? So again,
well, maybe Wyatt takes a step in the pressure department this year and makes strides and kind of balances that game out a little bit and is a little more balanced and well-rounded. You never know.
Yeah. And see, that's the whole point here too, Tim. We watched the tape all year long and we seen how our pass rush was very harnessed, right, by design to stop the run. So if you put Devontae Wyatt next to Jalen Carter, like Milton Williams was, right, and you've got, them pinning their ears back and just going after the quarterback with a 4-man rush while they play the Fangio quarters, which, by the way, our fan base hated that defense when it was here, right? Philly just won a damn Super Bowl with it.
Yep.
So this whole Fangio defense is dead, and then the argument goes to the next level now that, well, Fangio's the only one that can run it. I disagree with that too. You've got to have the personnel to run it. We did not have the personnel because we had a bunch of athletic freaks the way we draft, as opposed to players that are a little more, I don't know, football IQ-ish, right? We always go for that, hey, this just clay, this ball of clay that we can mold into something great because their RAS is through the roof, as opposed to maybe going a different route. That and the fact that Philly traded up, they were more aggressive. They traded up and got Jalen Carter, right? After they got Jordan Davis, they focused on getting that defensive line under control so they could run a 4-man rush. It's just a perfect marriage, I think, with Vic Fangio and what they've done with that defensive front. So, yeah, so Tim's definitely going player 1. Me and Jacob are going player 2 in that regard. The whole point is it's not like a slam dunk either way. I can see the argument both ways, right? But I think people think that our defensive line and our edge defenders played worse than they did because you're looking at sack. You're looking for sacks. And the goal is to put your defense in a position to where you can succeed in winning the freaking ball game. And every game plan is going to be different. There's no 2 game plans that are the same each week, right? I know on Madden it is, but in real life it obviously isn't. So Josh Martin says, according to Ian Rappaport, Max Crosby said he wants to be a Packer. Matter of fact, I think I've got that right here. I want to hit on it because our buddy.
No. That's
no. What do you mean? No, Tim?
That's not a quote. Max Crosby did not say that he wants to be a Packer.
So here's what Eli
Rappaport's saying. There you go. This is Rappaport's quote right here.
Right. Yeah. So Eli Berkovich put out, Ian Rappaport basically said Max Crosby wants to be a Packer. Quote, Crosby might welcome the change, particularly if it's a playoff team where he knows people. And people immediately drew that to Rich Bisaccia, his old head coach, Josh Jacobs, his old running back, and there's rumblings that Devontae Adams might be interested in coming to Green Bay as well. So that's what got linked up. It says, amongst all the available edges, I think Crosby has by far the best shot to end up the Packers, what Eli Berkovich said on Twitter. Creepy AI image here. Look how little the arms are. Man, we got to get him on them concentration curls. You know what I mean, Jacob? We got to get his arms looking a little skinny there on Max. But what do you guys think? Tim, I think I know what your answer is. No way, no how. This is nothing, right?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I love Eli Berkowitz, but that's not.
That's what Fred said.
Basically said. Yeah, it's like, no. I mean, I get what Rappaport's point is because it is legitimate. About we talk about the relationship with, Josh Jacobs and Coach B, and all that stuff. So it does, in theory make sense.
Keyshawn too. Yeah.
Yep. And Keyshawn Nixon. Yep. And, let's be honest, Rappaport is he's one of those insider guys. So it's not like this is coming, unfounded and it's out of line for him to say this. But I do think as fans, we should not twist this into Max Crosby says he wants to be in Green Bay because that we haven't heard that yet,
What he did say was he wanted to play with the people that he knew. So who would that be? Who do y'all think that would be? Can we think of another team where there's a lot of former teammates of his that are there? Devontae was one that he and Max really hit it off big time, right? So Devontae probably not even going back to the Jets as the news is basically broken that they're moving on from Aaron, right? So if it ain't the Jets, I mean Derek Carr's down there with the Saints, right? I was
gonna say Carr, but that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I agree. So I see why Eli put this out. That has to be the Packers is the team he's talking about. Now, Does he say he come out and say, I want to play for the Packers? No, but if he said, yeah, it'd be nice to go back and link up with some of the old guys, that's got to be what he's talking about.
He's from Michigan, and he was kind of buddy with some Detroit Lions peoples. We'll just put it that way.
And it doesn't say former teammates. It says where he knows people, right? That's a good point, Tim. It's a good point.
So, it could be one of those situations where it's between us and the Lions.
Joe said matching huts are close. I hate to speak it into existence. Well, then don't do that, Joe.
If you see it, you got to say it, baby. And that's it. So we've kind of got it narrowed down. Maybe Green Bay, maybe Detroit if he doesn't stay in Vegas, right? That's what we're thinking here. It's interesting. So,
if he comes to the North, I mean, I think we would rather have him on our team than play against him twice a year, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine Hutch on one side, Max Crosby on the other? I pause
ain't got no Cox though,
If that happened, we would almost have to go after like Khalil Mack or we would have to go get somebody.
And that's how I feel like all the fans are reacting. I guess I'm just a dumbass because my reaction is we got to beef up this offensive line, boys. We got to make sure that that's my immediate reaction. Because it's if we just focus defense, and we go out there and one injury away from a bunch of all pros just absolutely wrecking our game plan, that would suck.
So you think Goody might go O-line first round, second year in a row?
I think Goody's going to go best player available, and he doesn't give a damn what any of us schmucks think. That's what I think. So if you got, like we talked about earlier, like, a top player at the offensive line position that falls right in our lap, whether it's, who is it we always mention, Tim Mimbo, right?
Yeah,
I think that's who it was. If a top 10, top 15 talent at offensive line drops to us, that's the thing, man. Like, again, I understand why Goody went Jordan Morgan. It sucks Jordan Morgan got hurt, but boys, we did not lose that game to the Eagles because we needed another pass rusher. We lost that game to the Eagles because their defensive line dominated us just like they dominated the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, if you're going to go trenches, I hope they go 3-tech because this draft is absolutely loaded with it, and we need interior pass rush. That's what we've been lacking. Kenny's the big problem for me, and it sucks. I hate to say it, but I mean, notice I didn't compare Kenny Clark, who made, what was it, $27 million against the cap last year. I didn't compare him to Milton Williams. I compared Devontae Wyatt because Devontae Wyatt's our best interior pass rusher. That's not money well spent. It's just not, even with all the touch spine, which we covered pretty extensively throughout the season. So, again, shout out to Eli Berkovitz for that tweet there, and we'll see what happens, man. I love how optimistic Eli is, though, man. He's one of the best follows on Twitter if you don't want to stay depressed your entire offseason here, right? Another thing that kind of came down the pike I thought was interesting, I want to get your all's take on it, is this is the time of the year that all the stars are lining up. Everybody's coming up with different scenarios. Adam Schefter tweeted out, the Giants are hiring former Jaguars and Bills wide receiver coach Chad Hall as their assistant quarterbacks coach per source. Hall now reunites with his former Bills colleagues, head coach Brian Daboll and GM Joe Sheen, I think is how you say it, Sheen, in New York. Hall also is the brother-in-law of current Rams quarterback Matt Stafford. So people were talking about how they were looking to potentially shop Matt Stafford. They were shopping him last year, and they denied it because they didn't get any takers. And I know that's true because Michael Lombardi actually reported and said, they'll pretend like they weren't shopping him. I have firsthand knowledge they were shopping him, and nobody was interested. So if Matt Stafford goes to the Giants somehow, some way, they don't have the quarterback of the future there. Aaron Rodgers hops over with the Rams. Devontae Adams said he wants to play on the West Coast, goes to the Rams. That makes a lot more sense if Stafford ends up in New York. So what's your all's take on that? And again, why does this matter to the Packers? Because if those pieces fall into place, Tay ain't coming to Green Bay. He wants to play on the West Coast, and he'll follow Rodgers to the LA Rams. So what do you guys think on that, man?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we might have to pump our excitement brakes here with Tay, the way things are looking now lately. Honestly, unless Aaron up and retires, and then all of a sudden Tay's kind of, expanding his horizons on where he's thinking about playing. But I think there's logic to him possibly just following Aaron wherever he wants to go to, if in fact they're both released. I mean, well, we know Aaron's going to get released, but If they don't try to trade Adams, we'll see. But I don't know.
What do you think?
That to me makes more sense than I saw an article today that I think it said like the top 4 landing spots for Rodgers, and it was Giants, Cleveland, Raiders, and one other team that's just garbage right now. And I just thought, I don't see Rodgers degrading himself and going there. But I mean, you tell me if he's going to LA with McVay and some weapons there, I mean, that starts making a lot more sense to me. But at the same time, I think we wave bye-bye to Tay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it too.
Jason draft Jaden Higgins, right?
Yeesh.
We're back on the Higgins train, baby. Jason Wild with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, I know we just re-signed Kenny, but how hard would it be to get out of that contract? It's a great question, Jason. On the surface, you can see here, I'm going to click on Kenny's contract. And on the surface, it looks like, oh, man, that's impossible until next year. And this is what we mean. Look at the dead cap attached. And this is about as good as I can get it. Actually, yeah, I want to keep the age up there. All right, so his cap hit this year is $20.3 million, but the dead cap is $26.8. So if you got rid of Kenny Clark, what would happen is you'd be on the hook for $6 million more against the cap this year. So it makes sense to keep Kenny. But if you go post June 1, then what's going to happen is you have to carry that $20.3 million cap hit until next year, until June 1st. And then in June 1st, so you could cut him. Think of Zadarius Smith. You know how we cut Zadarius Smith, right? But we designate him as a June 1st cut. Then you have to carry that entire cap hit until June 1st, which we got the cap space to do that. And we're going to be doing restructures too. I'm almost positive, you guys double check me on this. You can make it so his contract, his cap hit of the guaranteed money, if you wait till June 1st, will carry over into 26 as well. So you don't have to absorb that entire cap penalty right there. The way it would work, I think you basically absorb it next year. So you would only free up what you're on the hook this year, which is the $1.3 million. And then of course, a roster bonus of $2 million. To me, it feels like it makes more sense in 2026, as you can see the potential out there is where you drop down to $17 million in dead cap. But I'm thinking you could make it palatable if you go post June 1. But again, somebody double check me on that. I don't like to look at post June 1 a lot because it gets a little tricky with the proration and the roster and everything else. He does have a roster bonus of $7.5 million this year, so you could possibly roll that if you go post June 1. So I don't know if that makes sense, but Jason, I think he's going to be here this year is what I'm thinking, man. I'm thinking he's going to be here this year, and then you can get out of it next year. But don't be surprised if you start hearing rumors of post June 1. And here's the way they'll approach it, in my opinion. Before they do that, just like with Zadarius Smith, you guys know it came down to the wire, and then they decided to go post June 1. They were going to him trying to restructure. So if they go to Kenny to restructure, on the surface, it looks like there's not much there, but you have that roster bonus of $7.5 million. So if you could get that roster bonus shaved down, and you tell Kenny, hey, look, man, if you want to finish your career here, let's wipe $5 million off of that roster bonus. Well, guess what? Now you drop his cap hit down to $15 million, right? And you could even convert $1 million over to signing bonus. You'll cut him a $1 million check, but he's taking $5 million less. Kenny might do that, but if you go that route, you got to be prepared for him to go, the hell with you guys. I'm moving on. Cut me. And now you got to juggle that whole aspect of post June 1 and all that. Does that make sense, guys? And how do y'all think about that question?
What do you think about this comment from Joe saying Kenny has been doing his job eating the double teams? Gary's the one not capitalizing.
That's the farthest thing from the truth. Thing from the truth.
I don't agree with that.
Kenny,
I was going to say switch the names around.
Right. Now, Kenny is getting double teamed too. The answer is not the sexy one. Everybody wants to create this. It's this guy's fault. It's that guy's fault. It's this guy's fault. They're both getting double teamed. Kenny is playing one tech. You guys remember, this 4-3 is going to turn Kenny loose now because he ain't two gap. And the whole point of a two gap is you're eating a double team. Well, we lined him up in the one tech and we played touch spy with him, which basically means occupy the double team and you cover the A gap. You're not just penetrating, right? Now, with Gary, they're chipping. He was chipped like third most in the league last year. So they're both getting double teamed at the same time. The problem is you don't have that 3-tech, that dominant 3-tech that forces them to not double team Kenny and not be able to chip on Gary. That's why we keep saying if you go get a 3-tech and you play Kenny in that 1-tech, they've got to decide, are we going to double Kenny or are we going to double the 3? Because right now they're able to double Kenny and the 3 isn't penetrating quite the way you want it. But you've also got to take into consideration it's not that easy of an answer. The way we rushed this year, there was a whole lot of harnessing that rush. It wasn't like the Eagles last night where you just pin your ears back and go. But you know why the Eagles were able to do that? Because they jumped up to an early lead too, right?
Yeah.
We took the run game completely out of it. Not that the Chiefs are interested in doing that anyway, but yeah. So, as far as Gary, though, many people like to just pile on Gary. Gary led your team in pressures, in sacks, and run stops on the defensive line.
No big deal.
Yeah, I don't know what else he could have done other than, play outside of the scheme and go the hell with half. I'm not containing here. You know what? I know he called an ET where I'm just going to jam inside and eat a double team so the tackle can loop off of me. I forget half. I'm just going to pin my ears back and go after the quarterback. That's just, that. And you also, when you look at the low sack number, which he led the team in sacks, look at his snap rate. His snap rate has nothing to do with him. It's how the Packers have operated since Coach LaFleur got here in 2019. This is now 3 different defensive coordinators. And the complaint has been, why are they on the sideline? Why are they on the sideline? It's obvious through 3 different – they're now saying it's Jason Rebrovich. It was his idea to do that. Guys, this is a Matt LaFleur thing, and he may change it this year. But you could tell that's coming from the top down. You're not going to have 3 different coordinators have the same amount of rotation, that hockey line rotation on defensive line, and it not be tied to the head coach. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the way I see it.
Or the assistant head coach. I mean, that could be Bisaccia too. He's got input in that scenario as well. Yeah.
It could, yeah. But, again, back to Jason's comment. Hopefully that answered your question there, Jason. Thank you for the super chat, man. I kind of feel like Kenny's going to be here. They may restructure and free up, anywhere from $3 to $5 million, something like that, to keep him here. But, again, if they go to him and say, hey, look, Bub, we want to restructure and we want to cut that roster bonus down, you got to be prepared for him to give you the middle finger. If that's the case, now you got to look at post June 1 and you got to look at, can you get creative or do you go $6 million in the hole to free up a spot? To me, that's silly. I would rather Kenny be kind of coming in off the bench rather than us lose $6 more million. You know what I'm saying? At least you've got a solid guy there backing up. But that's kind of how I see it. Let's see here. Professor Cakes, but Clayton 52 didn't have 20 billion sacks this year, so obviously he sucked. Yeah, it's a tough look, man. And I know there's people out there that love sacks, and I get it. That sounded bad. I know people love the sack statistic. All right. Perfect job. But yeah, it's just when the answer is always on the tape, and people, that's why people get mad and they, he's a tape guy. He's a tape guy. Because they're too damn lazy to actually watch the tape. Like I said before, and I won't mention any names, someone on an ESPN radio show was saying, Gary can't even beat a tight end pass blocking. And I'm like, I know what rep you're talking about, you moron. And he wasn't even rushing the quarterback. He engaged, slid across, and covered the A-gap on a spy. And it looks like he's rushing and he's not getting through. You can see his eyes are in the backfield the whole time. Again, it's understand what they're actually calling, man.
Yep.
Crazy. But again, today's society, you guys know, somebody's got to be to blame for. Somebody got to take the rap. Like on National. Y'all ever seen National Treasure? Remember that movie?
I remember that.
Remember when
Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, when Nicolas Cage said, "I'd really like to not go to jail," and he said, "Somebody's got to go to jail, Ben." He went, well, I got somebody. Somebody's got to be blamed in Packerland every single year. I thought it was Rich Bisaccia. He was the leading candidate this offseason, and I'm trying to figure out who's going to emerge as the next guy. Kind of now you're starting to hear Goody take a lot of heat because he hasn't been as aggressive as Philly has been with the trading and trying to go all in. But we'll see. I'm with you on that. Chuck says the National Treasure 3 soon, hopefully. Man, they've been working on that thing since I was 12. You know what I mean? Hopefully it does get done, though. What is this? 2-0 for this. If Sean Bean doesn't die, he goes to prison. There you go. That's a good point. He did. Was that his name, the actor?
I think so.
That's your favorite actor, right, Jacob?
Nicolas Cage?
Jesus. Yes, that's right. That's right. All right. Anything else we want to hit on, boys? This show officially sucks now. So anything at all. I was trying to see if I had another tweet or not. Actually, I did. Let's hit this real quick. And then we'll wrap up. Jacob, you go if you got to go, but we're almost done. I know you got ladies to tend to. So
bingo night.
We still in the declaration of Lambeau. There you go, Joe. That's what I'm talking about. So this lady was in the Superdome with a voodoo doll of Patrick Mahomes. All right.
Oh my Lord, she's stabbing him.
What?
It worked, right? There was a lady practicing voodoo witchcraft in the Caesar Superdome during a halftime in New Orleans. I said, anybody know she's under contract next season? You know what I mean? So I thought that was interesting. I bet that was a wild setting. If you guys seen, what's the street down there, Jacob, that everybody's so famous?
Bourbon
Voodoo
Street.
Mama Juju. What am I gonna do?
Yeah. So
you're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
let's see here. Joe says, "What the hell? How come she didn't go viral?" Joe, man, you know how it is, man. People scared of that voodoo. Except for Jacob. Jacob looking for a nice lady that does voodoo. He'll settle down with her. So
Voodoo Mama Juju.
There's been a murder in Savannah.
I ain't going down for this. Such a good episode.
My favorite of all time.
Start the car.
Too old for this, says Collinsworth said, my favorite actor is Pat Mahomes.
Here's a guy.
Here's a guy.
Here's a guy.
Oh, man. All right. Anything else, boys? Anything else? Yeah, too old for this.
That's the best. There's been a murder and you are a suspect. All right, I'll be right back.
Oh, man.
I love
Anything else, boys? Anything else?
Jason Wiseman really trying to get us to talk about whether or not we think Tyreek Hill is going to come to Green Bay. I do not ever see that happening.
It's a good question, Jason, but I want to say didn't he clean that up the other day on Twitter? Am I thinking right? Like he walked back his comments about Tua, if I remember right. Now listen, he reminds me a lot of a young AB. AB, 1 second everything's good, the next second you don't know what the hell he's going to say. But let me see if I can find it here. Tyreek Hill, because he said something. Okay, the first thing I see on Tyreek Hill, it says, "I've always been a fan of Donald Trump." Okay, that's not what we're looking for. All right.
I don't think
let's see. There we go. I don't want to go nowhere. I love it here. Is his quote there on the Up and Adams show. So said Tyreek Hill said he wants to stay in Miami. So it's just kind of spur of the moment, right?
I do declare.
I already declared you. Caleb Crawdad.
Professor Cake said those witchcraft ladies kind of hot. Just saying.
Hey, it's true.
Yeah. And then you wake up with 3 eyeballs, right? So
one kidney. Yeah.
God, these people are off the rails. Let's get out of here before we get in trouble.
Jacob, you seem like someone who's woken up in a bathtub full of ice before.
Yes, sir. Yeah. It was to ice my ass tat.
You got to get that tattooed on your cheek.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
I need to do that too. I think it's hilarious that I'm sitting over here sweating like, God, this show sucks so bad, man. We got to get off here early. And everybody's going, I love it. This show sucks. I love it. This is the best time. Welcome to the off season. Yeah. All right. Anything else, boys? We good? Going once, going twice.
I think we're good.
I'm good.
All right. Let's just
end it. It's official. It's the first day of the real off season, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Look at us.
Get a couple chats, Mark. Let's hit them real quick. The Caldwell Corner. Teams that build through the trenches will always compete for the big games. Packers are right there in that category. Completely agree. Joe says, I thought I would be glad KC lost. Now I'm just more pissed we passed on to Gene. I don't care if he's cornerback 1 or 2. He's 100%. Would be an upgrade to what we have at punt return. Man, he's a hell of a punt returner. There's no doubt about that, Joe.
He's just a good ball player, man, all around.
Yeah. And then Joe says, I hope Half had a huge say in the draft last year other than Cooper. It didn't feel like it. So, all right. And again, shout out to Jason Y. Thank you for that super chat earlier, buddy. I appreciate everybody hanging out. We're going to get out of here, man. We'll be back in the morning for Good Morning Lambeau at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, and we'll come up with some other good stuff to break down. Again, we just want to hit on a little bit of contract stuff. Matter of fact, we may deep dive the contract and give you guys a recap on some of these restructures. Tim, there you go, man. Special request, bro.
Duval.
You know what we need to do once before we go, since this is already off the rails? Let's get them with that sound. Let's hit them with that remix real quick. You want to? Here we go. Let's crank it. Tim, you lead it off. We'll alternate here. All right, you
Get ready to go.
I like it.
How many times are you going to come to my press conference late? Sit your butt outside. Just the tip, though.
Get ready to go.
Yeah.
Duval.
How about these hands?